Welcome to Hunter Beyond Time and Space Chapter 56. Two Bosses. This is news that concerns all time travelers, because if you are not careful, you may be detained in inexplicable places like the 12 time travelers in the news. Become someone else's transportation tool. Merchants used to sell things from the south to the north and from the north to the south. But now, there are too many differences between the table world and the inner world, and there are too many things that can be used for trafficking. The only thing that can limit this business is transportation efficiency and transportation space. At present, if you don't want to become someone else's donkey, you must make yourself strong. Or hide. At this moment, Qin Chen was thinking that the person who attacked Jiang Shui might also have this idea. At this moment, Wang Yun slowly recovered from the shock. In the class, other students also began to pay attention to this news, and no one mentioned the fact that Qin Chen and the transfer students became neighbors. The focus shifted. However, ordinary people watching the news are more like watching from the other side of the river, and they have little to do with themselves. Qin Chen noticed that the news ending reported, the criminal gang conducted transactions with virtual digital currency, and the buyer information of the genetic potion has not been traced so far. He got up to find the class monitor and paid the book fee, along with Nanjingchen. It's not that Qin Chen is so righteous, but after the other party became a time traveler, he wanted to invite himself to dinner for the first time. When he had money, it didn't matter to help the other party advance payment. This made Nanjingchen move to tears and promise to pay back Qin Chen's money immediately after his mother returned from her hometown. As time passed by, the criminal news quickly spread in the country, affecting every time traveler. In a certain ancient alley deep in the Luoqing Liejingmen, a young man in a black windbreaker is walking among them. According to historical records, Liejingmen was built in the Sui dynasty. The entire Liejingmen consists of city gate towers, urn cities, arrow towers, city walls, and moats. It is now a famous historical site in Luoqing. The young man had sunglasses on his face, and his shiny black leather shoes looked out of place with the ancient buildings around him. Just like a modern person in a modern city suddenly traveled through time and walked into history. There was no one in the deep alley, and the young man's leather shoes tapped rhythmically on the bluestone road, making a rhythmic sound. Further inside, a small courtyard with red pillars and gray tiles has a plaque hanging on the door with the word Kunlun written on it. The young man picked up the animal head ring on the door and knocked on the door. A head came out from the door, looking at the young man suspiciously. "Who is it?" The young man took off his sunglasses and smiled. "Jojo, he Jinqiu." But the head immediately shrank back. "Boss, it's Jojo's he Jinqiu." After a while, with a creak, the red wooden door was pulled open, and more than a dozen black-clad people stood on both sides of the courtyard, looking at he Jinqiu with serious expressions. He Jinqiu smiled. "Don't be so afraid of me, where is Boss Cheng?" "The boss hasn't come back yet," Lu Yuan smiled and said, "Mr. He, please sit and have tea. The boss will be back soon." He Jinqiu didn't stand on ceremony, and walked into the hall with a smile, and sat on the top of the Taisha chair. "This Chinese-style furniture is too hard, it's not very comfortable to sit on. By the way, do you have any wine here? I don't drink tea." As he spoke, members of the Kunlun Society looked at each other, and when they saw he Jinqiu sitting so impolitely in Zheng Yuandong's position, some of them wanted to say something, but were stopped by Lu Yuan. "There is wine," the voice came from outside the door, and Zheng Yuandong walked into the courtyard loudly and said, "When guests come, we have wine, meat, and weapons even when there are jackals and wolves." He Jinqiu straightened his black windbreaker, but did not get up. "I invited Boss Cheng to a meeting the day before yesterday, but he refused. So I came all the way from Beijing." "What's so urgent?" Zheng Yuandong sat firmly on another Taisha chair, wearing a Zhongshan suit. and his mechanical limbs were firmly covered under his clothes. He Jinqiu smiled at him. "Boss Zheng, have you seen the news today?" "Well, I know you just rescued 12 time travelers," Zheng Yuandong nodded, "but he doesn't have to come to my Kunlun to take credit." "I don't need to take credit, I just want to ask Boss Zheng, how did you consider my proposal? The number of people in Kunlun under your control has not only not increased, but has decreased. This is not in line with the needs of the times. There are more and more time travelers. How do you manage them with so few people?" "The concept is different," Zheng Yuandong said. "You Jojo want to collect all time travelers and supervise them, but I don't think it's necessary. It's not a good thing to have mixed fish and dragons in an organization. Do you know that if you don't bring them all under supervision, how many time travelers will be harmed?" Today's incident is an example. He Jinqiu's voice gradually became oppressive. "If you don't gather people and tell them what the inner world is like, how do they know how dangerous the inner world is?" Zheng Yuandong did not answer this question, but asked, "Is he Xiao Xiao in your hands?" He Jinqiu was silent for 2 seconds and smiled. "What do you think?" Zheng Yuandong straightened his sitting posture and said, "What do you want to do? Do you want power, or do you really care about those time travelers?" He Jinqiu got up and walked outside. "I already know your answer, Boss Zheng. As for what I want to do, you will know this afternoon." The Kunlun members who were originally watching the scene made way for He Jinqiu. At this time, Zheng Yuandong suddenly said in a condensed voice, "I hope that when there are external enemies, you and I are still comrades in arms." He Jinqiu's figure stopped for a moment. "Yes, old squad leader." As soon as the voice fell, the young leader of Jojo turned and walked into the ancient alley outside, and the sound of his leather shoes tapping on the ground gradually faded away. In the afternoon, when the heat of the previous news had not yet dissipated, another news about He Xiao Xiao quickly climbed the hot search list. On Douyin, He Xiao Xiao said behind a black background, "In view of the recent vicious detention of time travelers, I suggest that players who have obtained public beta qualifications pay attention to personal safety. The inner world has high playability and can even change one's own destiny, but if life is lost, there will be no more fate. I am currently preparing a time traveler chat system using inner world technology. At that time, the chat will be open to all time travelers so that everyone can share information and help each other. To reassure everyone, this group chat system will establish 12 dynamic data fortresses nationwide, and the identity of all time travelers will be protected. No outsiders in the table world can invade through technical means. After the chat is established, my strategy will only be published in the group." The news caused a sensation throughout the country. Thank you for listening to this episode of the audio novel, The Timeless Hunter. If you enjoy this channel, click subscribe for more fascinating English audio novels. Don't forget to leave a comment, like, turn on notifications, or share on social media below so you can find this channel again. Let us know your thoughts. See you next time.